The first thing that we are going to do is find the mass of 200 milliliters of warm water. So I'm going to place this on our scale. And if you take a look, the mass is 224 grams. You are going to record that in your data table. The volume of our water is 200 milliliters. You are also going to record that Our second step is to find the mass of our sugar. Before I found the mass of the sugar, I found out that the mass of our paper towel was 1 gram. If you notice, our scale says 16 grams. So the mass of the sugar is 15 grams. You are going to record that on your data table. We are now going to put our sugar in our 200 milliliters of warm water, and we are going to stir it until all of the sugar is dissolved. I am going to use a stopwatch to see how long that takes. So I'm going to pour this in, making sure that we get all 15 grams. I'm going to start my stopwatch, and I'm going to stir. I'm going to stop, and it looks like all of our sugar is dissolved in the warm water. My stopwatch says 8 seconds. You are going to record that time in your data table. We are now going to measure the mass of our warm water and our sugar together. If you take a look, the mass of the warm water and our sugar is 237 grams. You are going to record that on your data table. For our second test, we are going to use cold water. We're going to start by finding the mass of our cold water. The mass of our cold water is 236 grams. The volume of our cold water, is 200 milliliters. You are going to record both of those numbers on your data table. If you take a look, we now found the mass of our sugar, and we do have 15 grams of sugar on our paper towel. I know that our scale here says 16, but that is because we have 1 gram for our paper towel. We are now going to see what happens when we mix our cold water with our sugar. I am going to use our stopwatch to see how long it takes for our sugar to dissolve in our cold water. So I'm going to pour it in and hit start. All right. My stopwatch says that it took 12 seconds for the sugar to dissolve in the cold water. Go ahead and record that in your data table. We are now going to find the mass of our cold water and our 15 grams of sugar. Our scale says that our total mass is 252 grams. Go ahead and record that on your data table. We are going to repeat that same process, but now with salt. We are going to start by finding the mass of our warm water. Our volume of our warm water is 200 milliliters, and our mass is 233 grams. You are going to record those two numbers in your data table. We are also going to find 15 grams of salt. Oops. And again, we have a little too much, so I'm going to take some off. There we go. And again, our scale says 16 grams because our paper towel is 1 gram. We are now going to take our 15 grams of salt and pour it into our warm water. I am now going to start stirring and my stopwatch is on. And we're going to see how long it takes for the salt to dissolve. If you take a look, it took about 6 seconds for our salt to dissolve in our warm water. Go ahead and record that in your data table. We are now going to find the mass of our salt with our warm water. If you take a look, our scale says 247 grams. You are going to write that in your data table for the mass. We are now going to find the mass of 200 milliliters of cold water. If you take a look, our cold water has a mass of 237 grams. The volume of our cold water is 200 milliliters. You are going to record both of those on your data table. Now going to find 15 grams of salt. We're almost there. There we go. So we have our 16 grams of salt, and we are going to see how long it takes our salt to dissolve in our cold water. So I'm going to pour our 15 grams of salt into our water. I'm going to start our stopwatch, and I'm going to start stirring. It took 6 seconds for our salt to dissolve in our cold water. We are now going to find the mass of our cold water and our 15 grams of salt. The mass of our cold water and our salt is 251 grams. You are going to record that on your data table.